See, like today's agenda will be how to download Linux kernel, how to build Linux kernel. After that we will be discussing what are the kernel configurations available. So we will be discussing mostly three kernel configuration. First is make config, second is make menuconfig, third is make defconfig. So let's start. So the first thing is, what you have to do is you have to download Linux kernel from kernel.org. So kernel.org is a website which is maintained by kernel community. So the all participants of that community enhance features of Linux kernel, and whatever the changes they do, they upload on kernel.org. So kernel.org is the source from where you can get your kernel. So let's do that. So what you have to do is you have to type www.kernel.org. As you can see, I can see latest stable kernel is the 4.2. So 4.2 is the version of our kernel. So you have to just press on this button and you will be getting Linux kernel from this website. You can save it anywhere in your PC. So after downloading, what you have to do is, whatever the kernel you got from kernel.org, it's a compressed kernel. So first job is to uncompress this kernel. So what you will do is you will use tar command. So let's do it on Linux machine so that you can understand it better. So this is my download folder. In this folder I have downloaded my Linux kernel. So this is the Linux compressed kernel which I got from kernel.org. So what you have to do is you have to just give command tar-xf your uncompressed file name. So once you will run this command, you will be receiving uncompressed kernel folder. As you can see, I have already done this. So I have got this kernel folder as an output. So what you have to do, you have to go in this folder. So now we have downloaded the kernel and we have also uncompressed it. So now we will understand what exactly the configuration of Linux kernel. So the kernel which we have downloaded from kernel.org, that kernel is a generic kernel, means that is specific to some particular hardware. Let's suppose for x86. But the thing is, you might be working on some other hardware. Suppose you are working on TI hardware, you are working on Qualcomm hardware, you are working on Samsung hardware. So you have to make that Linux kernel compatible to your hardware. For doing that, you have to configure your kernel according to your specific hardware. So the way of configuring the kernel for different hardware is called Linux kernel configuration. So there are various ways of configuration the kernel. So we will be discussing mostly used ways of configuration of kernel. So as you can see, the first way of configuring the kernel is make config. Make config is a character based question answer session method in which kernel will start asking questions to you, like whether to enable some particular setting or not. You have to just choose yes or no. So continuously it will ask different questions to you and you have to answer according to your requirement. So what you have to do is, as I said, you have to go into the uncompressed kernel folder and you have to type a command make config. When you will type this command and you will enter this command, kernel will start configuration. It might take some time. So you can see kernel is asking me the question whether to build it for 64-bit. I can type Y for yes. cross compile tool prefix. If you doesn't know the answer, if you want some default configuration, you have to just press enter. It will go to the next question. Compile auto drivers which will not load is the next question it asks to me. So you can press Y for yes. Another question is asking, so in this way you can go ahead till your configuration is complete. So this was the one of method, but as you can see, like this method is very typical for the user point of view, like each and every time you have to answer the Linux kernel, or this might be scenario you don't know the each exactly what is the meaning of each configuration of the kernel. So to avoid this, we come across very beautiful way of configuration of kernel. So this is make menuconfig. So make menuconfig is the GUI based configuration of kernel method. So in which what happen, when we run this menuconfig, we come across one GUI interface. So GUI interface lists out all the options to you. So it depends upon you. You can select it or you can deselect it. So after doing all this configuration, you can save your configuration and you can give kernel build. So, but the thing is, when you are doing make menuconfig for the first time, you might get an error. The error will be because of your system don't have ncurses library installed in your system. If it's already installed, you won't get any error. But if you are getting any error regarding ncurses library, so you will be seeing this kinds of screen. So you will be seeing like fatal error, courses.h, no such file or directory, include curses underscore log. So the solution to this problem is you have to download this library. So to download this library, the command is sudo apt-get update, and after that what you have to do is sudo apt-get install live -5-dev. So after doing this, when you will do make menuconfig, you will be seeing this screen. So let's try this on our Linux machine. So you have to be in the same folder, I mean same uncompressed folder of Linux kernel. So what you have to do is you have to type make menuconfig. So it will take some seconds. Yeah, so you can see like now the kernel configuration window is open. So you can see like multiple configuration option. You can select it or you can deselect it. To go to any of the configuration, you have to just press enter. So you can see like these are the sub configuration. So if you want to select, you have to just go to any of the configuration which you want to select, and you have to press Y. Y means selecting it. If you want to deselect it, you have to press space. And if you want to save it, you have to just use the arrow, left arrow, right arrow keys. You have to go to the save option. You have to click on save or you have to enter. So after entering it, it will save all your configuration into .config file. You have to just press OK, and then you can exit. And if you want to come out of this menuconfig screen, you have to just go to exit button and you have to enter on exit button and again exit. So now your configuration is saved from make menuconfig. So this was the other way, and I think this is the better way of doing kernel configuration. One another method is available to us. If you don't have knowledge about what are the configuration you need to do, and the good thing is kernel comes with some default configuration for some particular hardware. So if you are doing it to just have a try of configuration of kernel, so what you have to do is you have to run make defconfig. So make defconfig, what it will do is it will do the default configuration of your Linux kernel. So you have to run make defconfig. So it will automatically pick up all the default configuration and it will configure accordingly. Let's try. So again in the same folder you have to just give menuconfig, and you can see, sorry, I given menuconfig, I should have given defconfig. I will stop it. defconfig. So you can see like it's did the default configuration. One thing you should remember, you have to use one way of configuration the kernel. I explained all of three because to give some overview of all the configuration of Linux kernel to you, but you have to choose one way of configuration the kernel. So now after configuration the kernel, you have done the configuration of your Linux kernel. So what task remains is you have to build your Linux kernel. So to build Linux kernel, what you have to do is you have to go to the same folder and you have to give command make. Let's try this. So you can see I have just started running make to build the Linux kernel. So this is a complete process of building the kernel. It will be going on for some time. It might take some time depending upon the speed of your system. So this is how we can build the kernel. So after building the kernel, you will be getting some default image of Linux that will be stored in your arc folder. So other option you have, you can speed up your Linux kernel process by giving -j and number of core present in your system. So you can give 4. So it will speed up your Linux kernel building because it will run 4 threads simultaneously on different cores.